Hi, let me start with an introductory statement. Whenever possible, use a camera with HDMI or SDI connection. USB cameras are of inferior quality. There are people who claim the opposite, but most professionals agree to that statement, so please bear with me. It's true that there are USB cameras with very high resolution, but resolution is only one factor when it comes to image quality. Lenses are very important, and when comparing USB cameras to mirrorless cameras, for example, there is a clear advantage to the latter, which also allows you to change lenses. Size matters. As you might have noticed, this blog is not about sex, but about live streaming, digital distribution, and hybrid events. And I am a seasoned filmmaker. And in our field, when it comes to lenses, size definitely does matter. And I have not yet spoken about the difference in sensors between the USB and HD cameras. So whenever possible, please use HDMI if possible or SDI cameras. However, there are situations in which you'd want to enrich your broadcast and use a second camera, and you don't have two mirrorless or DSLRs. In that case, you can use conventional USB cam as your second camera. That's actually the topic of this video. You might wonder why we should do that in the first place. Well, thanks for asking. A second camera allows you to change the frame size or change the position of camera number 1, the mirrorless or DSLR, while camera number 2 does the actual broadcast at that time as a backup. After you have repositioned camera number 1, you can switch back to it from camera number 2. Easy and trivial so far. What I just described can be easily achieved with any video switcher. Most of the switchers, however, accept only cameras with HDMI or SDI connections. They do not accept USB cameras for a reason, because those cameras work differently. It's not just the different lens which I described. While USB cameras output an internet-ready video stream, the HDMI-based camera outputs a video signal that needs to be converted in order to be streamed. Therefore, the switchers, like ATmini Pro, also serve as real-time converters. But the USB camera doesn't need this conversion. Therefore, switchers do not accept it as a source, and we can use together HDMI-based camera and USB camera connected to ATmini Pro or any other HDMI-based switcher. There are a few solutions though, like the Inogeny or Inogeny Share4U and the TBS converter. But they are somewhat complicated to use and definitely not cheap. My approach, and we try to implement it on movies everywhere, is to simplify things as much as we can. That's what I'll try to do here. The setup I found the simplest to implement is to relate to the ATmini Pro as another source and not as the final switcher from which the broadcast is made. Instead, I use OBS or vMix. When using this method, ATmini Pro should be source number 1, which I described before, and the USB cam connected directly to the computer which does the broadcast serves as source number 2. At the end of this chain, there is a switching and live stream app, OBS in our case, and then the ATmini Pro is just serves as a webcam and not the final switcher to broadcast. Relating to ATmini Pro as a webcam is definitely not unheard of. Actually, when you define it as a source in OBS, you choose video capture, the same method you'd use for a webcam. So terminology and concept-wise, ATmini Pro is a webcam, although it can contain multiple sources which are not webcams at all. It's called a webcam because it outputs a video which is internet-ready, just like a webcam, because it has a converter inside. So the switching is done between ATmini Pro as camera number 1 and the webcam as camera number 2. And they are mixed together in OBS or the switching software. That means that I give up on ATmini as a broadcaster. And that allows me to mix the broadcast with the USB cam. And here is an example we use ourselves in a hybrid event. A mirrorless camera served as the main camera. Wireless microphone was connected to the film director and fed through the audio input of ATmini Pro. I could have connected it to the camera, but I chose to connect it to the ATmini Pro. Then a USB camera was connected as a second camera directly to the streaming laptop because the AT Mini cannot accept it. And the switching was done in OBS instead of AT Mini Pro. That means the output to the broadcast was done from OBS directly through YouTube Live. As I said before, AT Mini Pro can be home to multiple sources, like a wireless microphone in our case. The last point of audio source brings me to an issue which is important to be aware of. Audio syncing or sync. I mean, sync. No, sync. When the audio comes from one source and there are different cameras not connected to the audio, the sound might be out of sync. It's true that OBS allows us to offset the audio delay, but syncing it for one camera might take the other camera out of synchronization. The solution I propose for it is a small compromise, actually. Give up the syncing for the USB camera. In any case, USB cameras provide wide angles, which makes them look far away. They provide what we call in film an extreme long shot. And in extreme long shot, the syncing, or out of sync in our case, which might occur, is hardly noticed because it's far. So my recommendation would be to sync only the main camera, the mirrorless or DSLR. To sum up, we learned how to achieve a multicam production look with as little as one mirrorless camera and one USB cam by using a small workaround to compensate for the fact that the two cameras cannot be connected to one physical switcher. I hope you found this video useful. It is part of our effort to make hybrid events easier and accessible to all through Movies Everywhere platform. Thank you for watching.